Welcome to a football show. We're trying out some new stuff today on the show. His name
We're
is
already sick of each other in the studio, so we're now cornered. We've been sequestered to opposite ends of the room.
I feel like I'm in a white box here. What's in the box? What's in the box? Welcome to the show, Monday edition. We have an announcement for you guys coming up momentarily. So we'll get to that in just a second. Obviously, Titans' full first padded practice of training camp. So we're going to get to that today on the show. Lots of Malik Willis talk, lots of Ryan Tannehill talk. So we'll get to the quarterbacks who we liked on Monday at Titans practice. There were some names that definitely stood out, offensive and defensive line. Go head to head. I know, Zach, you had a wonderful evening on Saturday. I went to a soccer match with my 5-year-old. I tried to avoid everything that happened at Nissan Stadium, but it sounds like you had a wonderful evening. So we'll get a review from SummerSlam. So see, this is my favorite type of show when my co-host when my co-host doesn't talk to me. That's my favorite part of the show. All right, so how about this? Producer Sean needs to get to the microphones. I will go ahead with what's coming up on the show. As you heard, obviously we are still here technically in the Cast Collective studio on Music Row, so make sure you check it out as we watch, as I hope all of you are enjoying watching Zach fumble with I know this is exactly what the announcement was all about. Was we're going to try shooting shows in the same exact place, in the same exact room. Cast Collective Studio. If you want to book the space, it is a great audio video space, despite the current situation that we are in. All right, so BuildKG.com is our title sponsor. Kingston Group has been a sponsor with 440 Sports for over a year and a half now. They are wonderful and amazing people. Of course, BuildKG.com is the website, so go check them out. That is, Nashville's locally owned custom home and remodeling firm. They're not going anywhere. They are a big part of the show, and we love you guys, and we love them for it. Again, BuildKG.com is the website. However, we are proud. we are proud to announce, this is exactly how we planned on doing it, by the way. We are proud to announce a new sponsor on the show, a football show, Mondays and Thursdays. Usually Zach and I are in the same room on the same screen. And our new sponsor, almost 100 years of business in Nashville. Locally owned business. They've been serving the community for almost 100 years. They will deliver right to your doorstep in as quickly as 20 minutes. And if you go in and use 440, you'll get a 10% discount. Who am I talking about, Zach? You might ask from the other side of the room without a microphone. We are talking about Weiss Liquors, baby. Check that out. Weiss Liquors right there. One of the most recognizable signs in all of Nashville. The big, colorful, beautiful neon sign right there on Gallatin on Main Street right there. The closest liquor store to the Titans Stadium, to Nissan Stadium. So you're home for pregame needs, postgame needs, tailgate needs, all the stuff you could use. 440. Use the name 440 when you go in. You'll get 10% off everything you buy. And here's the bigger, more important part. Aside from the fact that they are, of course, they're locally owned for 100 years. Here's the thing. Here is the thing. Uber Eats. Search Weiss Liquors. Just go search Weiss Liquors. You will have stuff delivered directly to your house. Directly to your house. You will have booze sent to your house. Go to Uber Eats.
Can't beat that. So and I'm back, baby. I'm back.
Go to Uber Eats. Search Weiss Liquors. And they will deliver the booze to your doorstep. It's safe. It's smart. It's convenient.
Let them drive so you can drink.
Check it out. Weiss Liquors.
I just came up with a new catchphrase for that. Let them drive so you can drink.
Weiss Liquors, through all the technical difficulties, can deliver booze to your doorstep. Again, 1932, locally independent owned. I've been shopping there for over a decade. You should shop there too. Zach, welcome to the show. How are you, buddy?
I'm here, feeling great. Microphone is back on and working. People can hear my lovely voice. Maybe some people really appreciated that they could not hear me.
I think people wished my microphone went out. Yeah, far more often than you. Okay, so let's first of all, what do you think? Weiss Liquors, huh? Welcome to the show.
I'm excited. You know me, I like to drink, and I like to be able to head to a place where that I know that's going to be around, right? You always know that liquor store is going to be around, and what better way to ring in the show with complete chaos welcoming a sponsor.
This is what you signed up for, Weiss.
Yeah.
This is what you signed up for.
I think we were very graceful through the whole thing.
I think we have been. And again, check them out. Obviously, Kingston Group is a great part of this. I've been supporting 440 Sports. Now Weiss is on board.
Did you mention the 10% off?
10. I did.
All right.
10% off. You go into Weiss Liquors and you say 440 Sports.
If they have Skinny Girl
10% off.
margaritas, the pre-made margarita mix is one of Lauren's favorite kind of margarita mix that has the tequila already in it. Maybe going to utilize that 10% today.
Basically, what a football show buys you is now no more tax for all your liquor needs. You don't need any more tax.
There you go.
You're never going to pay tax again if you go to
Never.
Weiss Liquors. And again, Uber Eats, search Weiss Liquors. It'll come right to your wherever you work. Maybe you could have it boost into your office. Maybe that's what you want to do. I don't know where you might work, where that would be successful, but it could.
Listen,
but it could.
Everybody in Conan O'Brien's office when he had his TBS show, the last show going, they all had liquor at their desk, and he discovered it, and someone even had it marked. So I'm all for workplace drinking.
All right, you want to talk some football now?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's talk some football. Full pads on Monday. So much fun. Energy level's different, and Vrabel has done this in the past, Zach, but he routinely. First day of padded practice, very first drill, 5 seconds after stretching, we're going full team 11 on 11.
Love it.
And it's what he's done for years. He did it again. It's sort of guys are amped up, guys are ready to go. So they kind of let the steam out of the pot a little bit. But in general, couple takeaways. Offensive line lost to the defensive line in general. I'm not any one particular player. For example, I know you're interested in Aaron Brewer. The interior of the offensive line pushed around a little bit by TR Tart. Some of that is to be expected when you have your first day of padded practice and players are extra physical and extra ready to go, and you have a new offensive line working together. But I think one of the main takeaways was that the defensive line played pretty well and were ahead of the offensive line. If you're going to give a W, Zach, it would be defensive line 1, offensive line 0.
Now, Ben Jones missed the majority of the first part of the practice too, and I think someone said that he came in on 11 on 11s at the end. Did that change the offensive line, defensive line dynamic?
Not much, because that's the period where it was most noticeable. But again, I don't think it is one.
So Ben Jones washed is what you're saying. Just need to make sure I write my notes down. Braden said Ben Jones is washed, brings down the entire offensive line unit.
Are you done?
Yes.
I think it's just like we're going to get to the offense and the one-on-ones. Receivers should win those, right? It's an offense. It's a drill geared towards the offense. I think a lot of times your first couple of padded practices, your defensive line should, as good as this Titans defensive line is, they should be winning a lot of those battles.
Right. Isn't that really what it all boils down to? They're the unit. Obviously, the biggest unit, I think, with the most question marks is definitely the offensive line, right?
Yes.
So the one with the least amount of question marks is the defensive line. So really, when you look at it that way, the defensive line should be dominating this offensive line that is fairly new. Dylan Radins, didn't hear his name called out in good or bad, so that's usually a good sign that he at least did his job adequately.
Yeah, and again, it's hard to tell. Rashad Weaver had a really good day. The edge guys had a pretty good. I mean, again, I was focused more on the interior because I think Brewer is just so easy. It's first of all, you can just tell who he is because he's so much smaller than everybody else. Which again, we know how athletic the left side of the offensive line is going to be. The question is going to be, does he hold up against big guys? And does the other team start to migrate their best defensive linemen to find Aaron Brewer? Right? Is that what's going to happen? Is that everyone's going to start with their best linemen on Aaron Brewer against, especially in rundown situations, or is it just pass pro that is? I don't know yet. I think that's going to be yet to be seen. Radins, it feels like they've given Nicholas Petit-Frere some opportunities, but it feels like Radins is still clearly the guy at right tackle. The question I still just don't know how good the overall group is. I mean, for example,
and you probably won't for a while, right? Because Aaron Brewer wasn't there for the full OTAs, and then you're going to have probably Radins and NPF kind of rotating in and out. It seems like your veterans will probably have a little bit of rest days here and there, so they're rotating in and out. So you may not get a full grasp until Tampa Bay at the earliest. I don't even know if you'll get a full grasp at Arizona, who they see first.
Well, and I only say that because I think you're right. It's too soon. But I say that at the same time without trying to overreact one way or the other. Offensive line wasn't great in one day.
Right.
But also, I don't want to overreact the other way and say the receiving core has looked very good.
Yeah.
Like there are a bunch of young players. They're young. The secondary is young as well. They're both very talented.
Only one interception thrown. So even if the offensive line is getting dominated by the defensive line, there's only been one real mistake thrown, and that was because a receiver fell. And we'll get to that later. But it doesn't seem like maybe the offensive line is really going to hold them back. I kind of see the run game maybe being the first hurdle to actually overcome, because it seems like a lot of people were getting stopped short.
Yeah, they didn't run the ball well on Monday.
Yeah, but no Derrick Henry. So, you got to kind of look at it in a bunch of different ways. That's the beauty of being able to have a show like this, where everybody's could tell you can only see a tweet that says, "Oh, Malik threw an interception. It was a 100-yard pick six thrown by Shakir Brown." Well, that same tweet
with the wide receiver that
but only one tweet actually said that, and that was Ben Arthur's tweet. Said something about about Brendan Lewis falling down. Everybody else just hammered that point home. So it's good to have someone like us, a show that you can go and trust that tells you, okay, the run game wasn't that great, but hey, Derrick Henry wasn't there. Right. The offensive line isn't going to look that good against this defensive line because this is one of the best defensive lines in football. So yeah.
And Hilliard had a nice run early in the very first session. And obviously Malik Willis on that interception, the one you're talking about where Brandon Lewis slipped, he was pulled out of the game the next play. So also some context there as well. Again, we couldn't really tell because of our vantage point. It was on the middle field. We couldn't tell exactly, was it the receiver's fault or was it the throw that was bad? That was trickier to tell. But again, context here for sure. But again, the energy was great. It was fun. The pads were popping. There wasn't too many. I didn't see any fights, any skirmishes like we had over the weekend where, Nate Davis and Jeffrey Simmons are getting together. It's not time to overreact about the offensive line, but it's the one position group I would be concerned about. And then at the same time, don't overreact with how good the secondary has looked, how good the defensive line has looked, how good the receiving core has looked, tight ends included in all of that package. So it's sort of just like temper everything. There's one play in team where the interior offensive line got blown up. One was a running play, and the second one was, I want to say it was Ola Adeniyi who just sliced in. And if it's a real game, that's like a torn ACL for Ryan Tannehill because it's his plant leg where he steps and throws, and he was coming in. And if it's a real play, they're colliding, and it's a bad situation. So the offensive line's got some work to do, but still early. So
I propose a different term than pads are popping. The pads are popping.
All right,
that's what everybody says. Oh, the pads are popping.
Right,
oh, it's great. Football's back. Let's do the helmets are clanging. A clanging. You gotta put the in there. You gotta make it
like
real
Christmas
old.
carol.
Helmets are clanging.
12 helmets clanging. 11 helmets clanging.
Yeah, there you go. 22 helmets clanging.
There you go.
There you go.
There you have it. All right. So real quickly, Treylon Burks, because he's had a pretty good week and a half of camp. I think Robert Woods.
It's a real rags to riches story.
Come from behind. Cinderella story. Obviously, Robert Woods has had a pretty good camp in there on almost all team and 7-on-7 drills. So do you want me to just rave on Treylon Burks for a second and then get to some of the lower receivers, or how do you want me to do this?
Well, I kind of want to talk about it in this sense. So we saw pretty much the offense dominate without pads on. And the big question was, can they continue that domination with pads on? Because can Cal Phillips still snatch up some ankles? Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, obviously. Can Mccreery rebound? Will we hear a lot about Christian Fulton, Caleb Farley? And like we heard about them all through the first week of training camp where they were getting burned or they were getting owned pretty much. Seemed to be that, again, kind of like the Dylan Radins thing. Nobody talked about Caleb Farley. Nobody talked about Christian Fulton. It doesn't seem like their players were particularly targeted in these offensive plays because it looks like they did their job, which is what you want to hear. That to me is what I would take away from training camps over the last few years is if I don't hear Christian Fulton's name or Caleb Farley's name called, unless it's a pass breakup, that means they're just doing their job.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Now I will say this: Roger Mccreery got,
ooh boy,
but over the weekend, what happened is, and this is to your point earlier about why you listen to a show like this, we like to think is the one internet video you saw was Treylon Burks, manhandling him, and Burks looked great, and then I think there's one other one. But the vast majority of Roger McCreary's practices over the weekend were very, very good. He was very good. He was very good on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of last week, or Wednesday and Thursday of last week. And he was exceptional on Monday. Full pads. I think he had 5 passes broken up. He is the quickness, the positioning, the football IQ. It is all there. It is all obvious. And he's going head to head with Treylon Burks a lot. Burks also had another really good day. So it's possible.
Stacking practices, and that's what this team has always talked about. Vrabel in particular, keep on stacking practices. And if you keep on stacking practices like these two guys are doing, I've said it before, and I'm not saying and cementing that this is going to be as good as the 2019 draft class, but the way that this class is trending, it's a lot closer to the 2019 draft class than any of the previous two draft classes in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Mccreery just looks the part already and was exceptional in full padded situations. I do think, like, again, we have to one-on-one drills are designed for the offense. Full padded practices, 11 on 11, especially in goal line because the field is limited, are going to obviously be geared towards the defense, especially a defensive line and offensive lines that don't have that finally are getting pads on. This is why I think the 7-on-7 in the red zone is one of the most interesting drills, because you're going to get some of that drill helps the defense, some of that drill helps the offense. The fact that there's no pass rush helps the offense. The fact that there's a back end line on the end zone helps the defense. So it's actually a really good kind of let's go head to head as a full collection of 7-on-7. We're going to take away 4 or 5 offensive and defensive linemen. And Burks had a really good day. Roger Mccreery had a really good day.
Let's talk about, as much as you can talk about, the play of the day that had people doing double takes, double looks, gasps, everything that is associated with, oh my God, I can't believe this play just happened. Now, obviously, I think the caveat is, and most of your negative Nancy's would look at it this way, and I don't look at it this way. In fact, I threatened to kick someone out of the chat that did think of it this way, but it's Zach Cunningham. But from what I've heard, Zach Cunningham was real tight in coverage, and he had to body, Treylon Burks had to body Zach Cunningham to get the ball.
So yes, that's accurate. First and foremost, we said this on Thursday, so this is not based on anything I saw.
It's more victory laps. So talk about stacking up good days. We keep on stacking up good shows.
We told you on Thursday that this offensive collection of people with Burks and Okonkwo and a couple other guys could be incredibly creative and incredibly versatile in how they line them up. They are using, this is as much as I can say, they are using Treylon Burks in a lot of different situations. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot of different situations. And
would you say in more unique uses or situations that you had yet to see AJ Brown be used in? Anything different?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
I'm just trying to get you to slip up and get that email from Titans.
If you watch Treylon Burks at Arkansas, he did a lot of things. And we know he's returning punts, or he's back there with a group of guys returning punts, working on it.
Seems like Kyle Phillips has the lead, and I'm switching a little bit. But it seems like Kyle Phillips has the lead in that department.
And Kinsey's involved in that, and they had Brandon Lewis was involved in that today as well. But like, if you go back and you watch, as Donnie chimes in, that John Glennon told everybody on Twitter on accident. I don't know what John Glennon said, so I don't want to go any further. Again, just Treylon Burks threw a bunch of passes at Arkansas. He ran the ball at Arkansas. He caught the ball at Arkansas. He returned punt. Like, he did all of that stuff at Arkansas. So it's natural to assume with his body type. Again, what I would love to see him do, and again, they didn't do this, so I'm not letting any secrets out here. I would love to see him used as an H-back in like a 12 or 13 personnel package where you can use him in motion. Now, here's the key, Zach, to that. You have to run the football with him in that situation enough so that you can then use it as a pass weapon.
Use them like the 49ers are using Deebo Samuel. Is kind of how you should equate this, is that
or even Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah, maybe he's not used as much in that situation, but he can be what Deebo Samuel is, which is what everybody kind of wanted AJ Brown this year to be, was someone who they manufactured touches for. You know how you get touches manufactured for you stay consistent and you stay on the field. So hopefully Treylon Burks continues that trend of stacking those practices and doing that.
I love Donnie calling out JG, by the way.
That must have been the guy that I saw tweet something about how the Texans use Brandon Cooks. He had quote tweeted someone, but it was deleted. So that must have been
listen,
Johnny G.
Again, I don't even care where specifically he lined up on.
As long as he's just getting the ball.
But what I do love is the skill set in a lot of different, being creative, which is, the Tim Kelly, Todd Downing. Like, there are questions about Todd Downing. There's questions about how much Tim Kelly's influence and what it's going to look like.
Seems like that's an influence if they were using Brandon Cooks in the same situation.
There you go. If you wanted to go again, totally hypothetical. They didn't do this, but this is me pointing it out. If you wanted to go 13, for example, and you wanted to have Burks as the third tight end with Okonkwo and Hooper, and imagine him as like there's a guard, tackle, tight end, and then you have him kicked back in the backfield, motion him across, backside block for Derrick Henry on off tackle to the right. You do that enough times, the defense is going to think, all right, he's a nice blocker. That's when you can work off of him and do the play action and have him running deep corner routes out of a tight end slot role that's very different, or in tight off the line of scrimmage or whatever. So I just think there's so much versatility there that they need to get creative. And we saw some of that creativity on Monday, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to track. I said the same thing about Chig. I said the same thing about Treylon Burks. They just have so much unique skills that I want to see all of that used in as creative ways as possible. So.
Well, you mentioned him earlier, and just a little off to the side, a little side over there. But Reggie Roberson seemed to have stacked his first real good day with the pads coming on. A player that should have probably been drafted if had not been for college injuries. They seem to just be okay. He has no limitations, it seems like, as far as physical contact going through the drills with pads on and everything. Talk about his touchdown, because I heard that he caught it for the back of the end zone, which was a really nice touchdown.
That is not a question, so hashtag talk about. I will not answer that question, Zach. No.
Okay.
I want to say this first before we get into Roberson, but because I will say the offense has been – there's no bad news right now with the offense. I know we just talked about the offensive line, but everybody's healthy. All the rookies seem like they're productive. Ryan Tannehill looks extra motivated. Like, to me, in general, Titans fans should be excited about the progress of the offense so far, especially losing A.J. Brown. So, by the way, I like that we're 22 minutes into the show, and it's the first time we've mentioned his name, by the way, which is good for us.
That's the second time, because I asked about Treylon Burks. Do you think that he was being used in more unique ways? So, second time technically. But it's football related.
Yes, precisely.
That's the major difference.
No empty calories. So Roberson had a couple of really nice, again, they go into one-on-ones, and they do it around the goal line. So it's a very difficult drill for the defensive back. So you're not supposed to win a lot of those. So when you do, it's a big deal. Roberson had a couple. What they're doing is a lot of the double move stuff, right? You're going to fake like you're going to the corner, then you're going to go back to the back of the end zone. Had a beautiful catch. I think he got both feet down. I think we were arguing about that for a little while. But John Robinson watched the entire drill. He was over there in that group for the entire time, watching that drill, studying all these guys going back and forth. Kyle Phillips, here's what I'm going to say. Kyle Phillips shit is tight, y'all. Like, that stuff, his footwork, his route running.
Analysis.
But it's so tight. It's so tight. Like, there's not, if he gives you a double move, you're biting on it.
I like that Kevin Byard showed initiative and was like, I want a piece of Kyle Phillips. Like, that's how much Kyle Phillips is feasting in some of these drills, is that it's starting to get to Kevin Byard a little bit. Like, now, he's like, and Byard did a good job in the one drill that was shown on video.
Might have been a little of this,
but you know, you never know. I think that's a good sign for Kyle Phillips.
Roberson and Phillips, to me, were the two names that I kind of came away with the one-on-one drill saying, man, those guys, they're good at manipulating the hips and the feet of the defensive backs.
I heard Des Fitzpatrick was up to his old ways, kind of getting pushed around and then letting his body language sag and get all depressed.
So
pads come on, confidence leaves.
Well, so Des was up for a route.
Yeah,
and I think they said, like, I don't think it was Rob Moore. I think it might have been a defensive coach who was like, get in there, Fulton. Get in there, Christian. And Christian got in there and went head to head and then just like bodied him up. Now, it could have been a holding call. It could have been, they might have thrown a flag on that play. I don't know.
I heard he was getting owned by Kenneth George, whoever that guy is.
To your point, he did not get any separation. If they're going to let it play on both sides, then you need to be physical too. Yeah. And Treylon Burks and Nick Westbrook-Akine were very physical in this drill. Also, could have been some offensive PIs in some of those situations as well. So you kind of just have to let it go and see what happens. And Fulton did a great job on Dez. So I didn't see the bad body language as much as you're talking about, but he didn't have as good a drill as, again, Roberson and Phillips are the two I came away with from that drill saying, man, those guys did some work. And Robinson left the drill kind of chanting a little bit, all right, boys. Like, he seemed like he was happy with what he saw. So,
well, speaking of body language, I don't think anybody has better body language than Ryan Tannehill. And we're switching subjects here. We're going to talk about the Titans quarterback room dynamics, because it is clear. And I have to give props if I'm going to bash someone for their takes. If they have good takes, I need to bring it up. I think there's Jared Stillman is onto something about he's been harping this, and him and Joe Rexrode got into it a little bit last week. Last year we kind of all downplayed the interceptions, and Stillman was. I remember to this day the 5 interceptions, on the first day of camp or whatever it was, and he said that's going to be a prelude to what it was in the regular season. Whether that's truly connected or not,
There's no
who
evidence.
knows? But there was something about the things that led to the interception, the lack of playmakers being available, the offensive line being bad, nobody getting separation, all showed up in the regular season and reared its head. So, and Stillman is right now praising the fact that largely Tannehill has got his confidence back. He looks great. He is sharp. He's on time. I mean, he may have an errant throw here and there, but every quarterback does. And I think it shows in everything that you see. There's a just confidence, and I just can't get away with from it. And we've talked about it, how great he looks, and when he has confidence, I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. But his targets are pretty much rewarding him, right?
Yeah.
Traylon Burks, NWI, Robert Woods.
Yep.
But Chig Okonkwo is his safety blanket. He loves Chig. And I think that is such a good sign. I think that is a takeaway you can take, is that there is more confidence and more trust in these wide receivers that he doesn't even know. The only one he knows is Nick Westbrook-Akine, and he trusts all these new guys a lot more than he ever trusted Julio Jones, who was never available through the offseason.
Yeah, a quick comment from Easton Freeze, of course, from Broadway Sports Media. Des looked pretty good on Saturday without the pads. That's Fitzpatrick, that is. Today was a complete reversal for him. I tend to agree with that. I did not see Saturday. I was not at Saturday practice. I do family stuff on the weekends. I draw the line somewhere, Zach. But to your point about Tannehill, and again, I don't think we need to go to Stillman for this. Love you, buddy. But we said this on the show.
Yes.
We said this on the show on Thursday that he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. There's a little extra juice in everything that he's doing, because I don't know how, from a human element standpoint, you couldn't be affected by how last season ended and not come back extra motivated, especially when you talk openly about how much it affected you. So I think that's clearly what you're seeing. You're seeing lots of leadership. He said today in the press conference that he was tracking all the reps that the receivers that you're talking about were taking with the other guys.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I saw Kyle Phillips get open on this route, on this drill.
There hasn't been a Kyle Phillips Tannehill connection that you've seen in these team drills, really.
But to know that Tannehill saw the drill, saw the route, thought the route was accurate, and then thought, oh, he's got 6 yards of space, I would have made that throw. He in his head is already gaining trust, even if he wasn't running the rep. So I think that's, again, to take it to.
It's like he's quarterbacking on another level that we really haven't seen the whole time. I mean, for him, I'm not talking about another MVP level or something. I'm saying it seems to me that right now he's in a space that he hasn't really ever been in. I think he had some confidence heading into 2020, but it was still shrouded in what can we really take away from 2019? It was a couple of games. He failed in the playoffs. In 2020, he kind of was the same one. I just feel like his headspace, he's in a different headspace, like we keep talking about. And I think that helps.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Now, to be fair, the greatest season Ryan Tannehill has ever had is when he came off the bench after a month of football.
Right.
So we've got to be clear. We don't know exactly what elite Ryan Tannehill looks like preparing in camp, because we've actually never technically seen that. Although he was very good in 2020. Again, COVID, weird, all this other stuff.
Right.
I think what's my issue with overreacting to this, the interception thing, and even the chip on a shoulder, extra motivated, all that stuff, is does it translate to mental mistakes? Because that's where I think Ryan got in trouble last year, was missing a blitz off the edge, or misreading, misdiagnosing a play, or not going through progressions, and being sacked a lot. Let's be very fair. The offensive line didn't help him much. To me, it's does the extra motivation, I can see
if you were to make a pie chart for blame of Ryan Tannehill's season, I think it would be just a bunch of little pie slices, but all the way around. It's there's 100 people share 1% of blame.
Right.
It's ridiculous how much went wrong last year. And I think you can take that away from things aren't going wrong so far. This is kind of like Traylon Burks, right? I mean, you got cause for hope more so than you got cause for concern with the offense, especially with Ryan Tannehill. And to be honest, it's a good problem to have, in my opinion. I'd much rather. I know there are people that root for Tannehill's downfall because they want Malik Willis to be something he's not, and we're going to get to that in a minute, because he's just not ready, which is okay.
Sure.
That's okay. But I think that if you are looking for team to have some success, the best way for this team to have success is if Ryan Tannehill gets back to 2019, 2020 and gives them a really hard decision next year, even though it's probably not that hard of a decision.
I'm more with you every day on this, watching Malik Willis. It's not necessarily a Tannehill thing. It's like if he wants to restructure the deal, they are going to be better off with Ryan Tannehill as their starting quarterback next year. So we'll get to Willis in just a second, but that's because I've got to be careful because the lesson is don't overreact here, but I'm overreacting, so I got to be careful. But my issue is I see all the things you're talking about. I agree with all the things you're talking about. The practice has been fairly clean for Ryan Tannehill for a week and a half. The offense has been extremely healthy. He's getting reps with all of his players that he wants. They're all out there because, again, literally the first series we saw Julio Jones, he gets hurt last year in camp and didn't practice at all. And at least he's getting all of that stuff and he's motivated. So all of that's really, really good. The question is, does it translate, to Buffalo on a Monday night in week 2 when you're down by 6 in the fourth quarter and you need a third and 9?
Isn't that what practice is supposed to do?
Yeah,
Practice is supposed to translate. So it's not like I'm saying, okay, obviously MVP discussion, Ryan Tannehill. I mean, he's going to be the best quarterback. But what I'm saying is that you could see from last year's start and what carried through all the way through training camp, it started day 1. So if the trend is that it's going to carry all the way through training camp, day 1 has been great.
Yep. No, you're right. There's no question. Like, again, same thing with Roger Mccreery and Treylon Burks. They've been good every day of practice since they opened up camp officially last Wednesday. Both those rookies have been just awesome the entire time. The only rookie that has not looked ready to go is Malik Willis. And I just want to read off a list of names here. Just bear with me here. This will not take all that long, but I've got a list of names, every quarterback drafted in the 3rd round. And I do all of this to just offer some expectation setting for fans because there's a reason he fell to, 86th in the 3rd round. The Titans passed on him 3 times. Every team in the NFL passed on Malik Willis, essentially, in theory, twice, 2.5 times for others. Here's every quarterback drafted in the 3rd round in the last 12 drafts. Kellen Mond, Davis Mills. Davis Mills might be the one that works. Nobody in 2020. Will Grier, Mason Rudolph, Davis Webb, CJ Beathard, Jacoby Brissett, okay, starter sometimes, Cody Kessler, Garrett Grayson, Sean Mannion, nobody in 2014, Mike Glennon, Russell Wilson, okay, there's the one, Nick Foles, not sure what he counts as, honestly.
I mean, he can win you a Super Bowl, I guess.
But he's not a starting quarterback.
Yeah, he was for a little bit.
Ryan Mallett, Colt McCoy. And what it strikes me as, this list of names, is they're all kind of the same level of player in the NFL. They are all replacement level backup quarterbacks. Like, that is what all of these guys are. Like, CJ Beathard got a couple starts. Mason Rudolph got a couple starts. Davis Mills and Russell Wilson's the only starting quarterback in this entire list. So in 13 years, no player has been drafted other than Russell Wilson in the 3rd round to play quarterback in the NFL and been a starter. So I just want to put that out there as an expectation set for Malik Willis because he has not looked like a starting NFL quarterback in a week of practice.
I will say this, is that obviously Russell Wilson is a special case, but if you're going to put Malik Willis's traits up against all those quarterbacks you listed, it's going to be the closest to Russell Wilson, right? I mean, he's not any. I mean, his physical traits. When you look at, Cody Kessler, Sean Mannion.
So Ryan,
they weren't anything. I'd say Ryan Mallett probably has the arm talent.
Huge arm, Ryan Mallett. Yeah. I actually think Jacoby Brissett is a talented guy. Will Grier has a huge arm, but is a little smaller. Yeah. I agree with your general assessment.
Right. That he's a lot closer. I'm not saying he is Russell Wilson, but he's just a lot closer to Russell Wilson than he is Cody Kessler.
From a raw athletic ability standpoint, and the arm talent's there. There was a play in the very first team drills where Logan Woodside takes the snap, makes a perfect lightning quick read to dump it off to Dontrell Hilliard in running kind of down the sideline. And makes a perfect read, took him half a second to do it, decided exactly what he's supposed to do, and the ball was 3 yards wide. And I'm like, that's the Logan Woodside story. And the problem is it's the other way sometimes with Malik Willis, that it's like he just is holding the ball, he's patting it, he doesn't like rolling to his left, he looks to tuck and run. He doesn't go, as expected, is not going through the progressions.
Right. And I think that's the key to all this. And I think a lot of people think people are hating on Malik Willis. Don't turn Malik Willis into a martyr like you guys turned Marcus into one. Like anybody that says anything negative, even if it is factually true, then let let that be what it is, which is a factual account of what happened.
Yes, and also this is a redshirt year.
Right.
This is a year where he is not supposed to be a contributing member of this team.
No matter how much you wish it or will it into existence, the plan is for Malik Willis to not have to see significant starting snaps. And that's been our stance all along, is that this is not supposed to be, none of this is supposed to make you freak out one way or the other. You're not supposed to be scared, or you're not supposed to hate the negative comments, say, whoa, you're going to really ruin it. Malik Willis knows what's going on. The coaching staff and everybody's going to review everything. So he's going to see those negative comments you see in a tweet from someone that's at the practices. What do you think they're saying in the coaching?
Mike Vrabel said it
probably
out loud.
Probably even a little bit more crass.
He did it in the
guys.
Vrabel did it in the press conference. He's like, yeah, we need to work on decision making. Like that's it. Like period. Like,
and that's what it is. That's what anybody's pointing out. Everybody's pointing out the flaws that we knew Malik Willis had going in. Now, there are some people who are, stupid accounts that have said, oh, Malik Willis has no flaws. And I try to tell everybody he has flaws. And do they need to be so concerned with every little detail in his game, in his mechanics? No. But they got to fix it enough to where he can utilize in the NFL his God-given athletic talent, that arm, that the athletic ability, the throws that only he can make. They got to utilize that. And to do that, they're going to have to teach him how to play in a pro style offense their way. And unfortunately, it's not happening as quick as you want it to happen. But if there's any coach staff that I believe in, it's this one to get that happen. I think that Mike Vrabel and Tim Kelly and Pat O'Hara can get him ready, because they've been around when someone got Deshaun Watson ready. I just have faith. It's nothing to worry about one way or the other. Not a concern. Let's worry about it till next year.
No, this is where two things are true. We can be very honest about what we factually see from a player that clearly isn't doing all the things that make him ready to play, and also be like, yeah, but he doesn't need to be ready to play right now. Again, barring a very serious long-term out for the season type of injury for Ryan Tannehill, I don't think there's a situation where Malik Willis is really a piece of the offense this season. Daniel says that Dak Prescott was a fourth rounder, and yes, I know that other players have been drafted. Daniel, you're correct. Tom Brady was in the sixth round. We all remember 199. But that the point is just to look at, and again, I made that list of players not to rip on Malik Willis, but just to point out that it's very difficult to find a player who is good enough to play right away in the like. There's a reason you fall to the third round, and you're drafted in that situation. So I don't think there's any reason for panic. It's just a statement of fact. He is not prepared to play right now. He is not prepared to be a starter right now.
And we knew that he had major flaws, right? Every quarterback in this draft had major flaws one way or the other. And we all knew it. So this should not be a surprise that the mental aspect and the speed of the game for a guy that's not played a pro-style offense, this does not mean that he's an idiot or something.
No,
he just has never played in a pro-style offense. He played in a really Malik Willis-friendly offense with Liberty. And this can be a Malik Willis friendly offense. It just has to be to get to a point for Malik Willis to be comfortable.
Do you want to throw Stoney's comments back up there again? Can we take victory laps for saying the Titans will keep three quarterbacks? I will let Zach do that because he convinced me. I said, no way, that's not going to happen. Malik Willis will be ready.
I'm still having to convince people because they think that Logan Woodside sucks. And you can see Logan Woodside is a backup quarterback, right? He's like Jacoby Brissett, Sean Mannion, Nick Foles, all those guys you named. He's just like them too, right?
I don't think he's as good as this guy.
Well, we don't really know, but probably not. But he knows the offense. He knows where the ball's supposed to be and how to get it there. Does it always go right on target? No. There's a reason why he's a backup quarterback. But there's also a reason why he has beaten starters like Trevor Siemian and Deshaun Kaiser, and then there's the Hogan, Kevin Hogan, and there's a reason why Matt Barkley. There's a reason why they're going to carry three quarterbacks, and this is the reason why you're seeing it. Malik Willis, barring some miraculous just light switch turning on in the next few weeks, is going to be technically quarterback three when it's all said and done.
There's no question. And here's again to reiterate,
and that's okay.
It's okay that if he had been drafted like Kenny Pickett in the top 20, we would be having a very different conversation about Malik Willis. But again, I read off all those names of quarterbacks that are drafted in the third round, not to destroy Malik Willis, but to say that it's just very, very difficult to find a guy who's a legitimate starting quarterback in the third round. It's happened one time in the last 12 years. Maybe Davis Mills is number 2, maybe. But here's the thing. Malik Willis has the physical tools that you pointed out, and he's got the work ethic. I think he's got the mental approach that you need. So he's got the things that you want to have when you're trying to build and become and develop into a quarterback that can start in the NFL. You got to have a good work ethic, be willing to bust your ass, and you got to have some talent. And he's got both those things right now going for him. So, and he gets to learn from an offense that doesn't really want him to be a superstar elite playmaker. They want him to sort of manage things, and that's what Tannehill's supposed to do. So I think they're in a good spot. I just don't expect to see too much Malik Willis in 2022.
The good news is that it can only get better. Yeah. Or it stays the same, and he's a backup quarterback that you spent a third round pick on.
Risk reward. That's all it was.
That's all it was.
You passed on him 3 times.
Yeah.
And then you thought, you know what? The upside, we got to do this. And
they're rooting. Let me say this: they are rooting for Malik Willis to be something that he is yet to be right now. They want him to be the guy, but it's not the end of the world if he's not. Especially if Ryan Tannehill's trajectory is continued from here all the way through the regular season, hopefully postseason.
So we haven't really touched too much on Roger Mccreery. Elijah Molden also out 2 days in a row, so that's something to keep an eye on. But Mccreery has just been absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit, but I do want to reiterate
the defensive back
how great he is.
He is. He's been outstanding, and some of that's because Molden gave him a lot of chances because he's been out the last 2 days, and he's been very, very good. So I think the defensive backs are in really good shape. Daniel says maybe that's why Ryan is having such a great camp during drafting a quarterback. A lot of fire under him, lit a fire under him. I think it's to your point about the pie chart with like all the slices. Yeah. One of those little 1%ers or 2%ers or 6%ers is like they drafted a guy to replace me.
Right.
Use that as motivation. Like I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So. I mean, just is what it is. But you want to talk about this stupid judge of Deshaun Watson? And
we got to do the weird stuff here at the end. All right, go Deshaun Watson. The judge rules 6 games?
6 games. Basically, even though that she says in her statement that this is the most egregious thing the NFL has ever faced, she feels that the NFL was overreaching in trying to get more than 6 games because 6 games has been the standard. So instead of looking at it from 6 games times 20-something cases, or she actually was presented with 4 or 5 cases, if I'm not mistaken. So instead of multiplying 6 by 4 or 5 at the very least, she only took all these cases, all these women, and put them into one and said, well, sorry, just because no other NFL player has ever sexually assaulted 24 women, I'm going to have to, just treat you as the standard of these other cases, and you are 6 months or 6 weeks suspended. Now, this does not mean it's over, because the NFL obviously was seeking for
a year.
Yeah, they were obviously seeking technically indefinite, but they would settle for a year, right?
By the way, I'm laughing at the NFL's policies and structures, not the situation, because Roger Goodell did all of this, has all this time, spends all this time and effort to have this judge do this whole thing. And Roger Goodell can literally just do it still whatever he wants.
And that's what it boils down to, is that, and they have 3 days, and I think that they're going to appeal it. They'd be stupid not to appeal it, because it then goes after 3 days. They appeal it. It goes to Roger Goodell, and he gets to basically hand out the punishment, which will then become either a year or still indefinitely suspend him, because that was originally what the NFL wanted, and specifically Roger Goodell. So, I'm mad at the judge. And I think her statement and her ruling is completely asinine, and more just setting back. I feel like what these women are going through by another woman, which I can't compute this. You are allowed as an arbitrator to interpret and be able to adjust and make new rulings and make new things happen. I mean, obviously by saying that, it's not in the CBA, I have judged that he has to use club certified masseuses from here on in. So obviously you're not too confined to the CBA, right? So I find it just asinine, the whole thing. I am awaiting for the course correction to be the NFL to come in and suspend him and fine him more. Can't believe she didn't even fine him.
Well, so I'm going to sort of take this in maybe a separate direction, but it's the same line of your thinking here, and that is like it never ceases to amaze me in this country what we will overlook for talent and opportunity and success,
Right.
and what this mean like. There's obviously different standards. There's criminal standard, right, of guilt and innocence. There's like a civil court. There's a without a shadow of a doubt, right, criminal, and then there's a preponderance of evidence, which is like civil, and then to me, there's like this whole other real world we can live in,
Yeah.
where we don't even have to get into this other stuff. Where it's think about this: if you were an employee or an employer, any business in America, and this happened to one of your employees, are you keeping them?
Right.
You're not whether you can find guilt or innocence, whether you know the civil cases are settled out of court and with disclosure agreements or whatever. Like if you worked for me and you were accused of this by 24 women, you're not going to work for me anymore. So we have the freedom in this country as employers of people to make decisions that we think are right.
And this will come to no surprise.
It doesn't happen in sports. It doesn't happen in politics. It doesn't happen in music. It doesn't happen with actors. It just if you're badass at something, we will just let you get away with something up until a point in line where we can like prove it, I guess. And it's just there could be backbone involved in this because the fact that we're arguing about the number of games doesn't even happen with any other employee in any other business in any other walk of life. If you get accused of 24 sexual assaults or whatever the phrase is here, I don't want to misspeak. There's no way I'm employed by any company at that point. I'm not getting to keep my job. Doesn't matter if they can prove it or not. And I don't. You can throw a football great, so then you get to keep your job. You can act on screen, you get to keep your job. You're a great guitar player, you get to keep your job. I don't get it.
My thing is that everybody wants to bring up, well, they went to a grand jury and no criminal charges are brought to him. I encourage everybody to Google sexual assault convictions in Texas and by the law. Okay. It is easier
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's easier to get a gun than it is to get for someone to get convicted of sexual assault.
Yeah,
it's they have some of the strictest, I guess I would say, burden of proof on the accused or the accuser, on the accuser to have to present to some of the strictest in the nation. So basically, if you're accused of sexual assault in Texas, you probably have a pretty good chance that you're going to be found innocent because of how hard it is and how stringent the rules are to get that passed. And so I think that the people shouldn't be looking at, well, he didn't get convicted of criminal, offense, so that means he's innocent. Well, no, that's not true.
But that's where my point lies, because I can hear all the bullshit excuse making. Like I can already hear it exactly like you're saying. Well, we have a court of law for a reason in this country. We went through the court of law and he wasn't found guilty. And we have a civil court of law in this country for a reason. And he went through the civil process and he signed a bunch of NDAs and paid all of his victims off. But like, we don't know really what happened. Like, again, if you sell insurance or you work for a bank or if you are an auto mechanic, any other walk of life in American society, if this happens to you, you don't need to be guilty of anything, and you don't need to be found guilty in a civil court to be fired from your job. Like
it's ridiculous.
It's not a thing we do in any other walk of life except for these great famous people that we think are super talented.
Right. And I'm just here for the NFL to suspend him for a full year because that's eventually going to happen.
Sign me up. You think it's going to happen?
Yeah.
You think it'll stick?
Yeah, what's they going to do? They've said that they're not going to appeal the arbitration ruling. The NFLPA already did.
All right.
Why wouldn't it stick? What are they going to do? Sue the NFL?
I hope you're right, man.
Who gives a shit?
I hope
they don't care.
Speaking of who gives a shit, AJ Brown's Twitter account. Don't give a shit.
No.
That's it. Next subject.
In fact, not next subject, because I have written an open letter to Titans Twitter, and I would like to read it. To whom it may concern. This is an open letter to anyone who's still clinging to AJ Brown's every tweeted word. He's an idiot, a loser, and most notably a liar. Trust me, your life will be better if you focus on the players on your own team. While AJ Brown is throwing temper tantrums at Darius Slay and starting locker room fights in Philly, Treylon Burks is here doing spectacular touchdown grabs. He also is doing something more players should do, not tweet. While AJ Brown is feuding with reporters in Philly, Kyle Phillips is breaking ankles every day. He has several ankles of defensive players mounted on his wall. While AJ Brown is struggling to catch inaccurate passes from his BFF, Tannehill's throwing dimes to Chig Okonkwo, who has become a reliable target for Tannehill. While AJ Brown is being horrible at contract math, Jeffrey Simmons is batting passes down and practicing even without a new contract. While A.J. Brown is name searching on Twitter, Roger Mccreery is putting on a clinic snatching up numerous pass breakups. A.J. Brown is incapable of moving on. He's a stage 5 clinger. I encourage you all to try and not to try to outdo him and cling to him. He left you. He didn't want to be here unless he's being paid more than he is now. It's not about the fans with him. It's not about the city or the team with him. It's all about the green, and that's okay, but let him go. So as a vow and a show of unity, this will be the last time I'll reference anything A.J. Brown tweet related on this show. A.J. Brown has become Isaiah Wilson for me, a topic I have no interest in discussing and rehashing weekly. If A.J. Brown tweets are to be discussed further on the show, Braden will talk the entire segment, and I will remain silent until the next topic is up. The only time I'll talk A.J. Brown is if he grows wings, flies into space, commits a crime, or plays against the Titans in the regular season. I encourage you to do the same. Please take these words to heart, store them in your mind, and take action to block, mute, or just unfollow his stupid account. Thank you.
She was my first Asian. Weiss Liquors, everybody. This rant brought to you by Weiss Liquors, everybody.
I wish I had to cheers. Had some liquor.
Oh, well done. Well done.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Here's the one. Here's the extra motivation that you all need for this. No one wants to hear me talk for the entire segment. So
yeah, there you go.
So that's all the motivation you need.
This is exactly what I did with. I think I was talking about Pro Bowls or something. I was just tired to talk about Pro Bowls, and I just let Mike and Michael talk the whole time, and then they were like, "Are you going to say anything?" I'm like, "I told y'all guys I wasn't going to talk if we talk about the subject." So, and here it is.
This rant brought to you by our brand new sponsor, Weiss Liquors. 1932, almost 100 years of serving the wonderful people of Nashville. You can go to Uber Eats and search Weiss Liquors, and they will deliver the booze to your house in as quickly as 20 minutes. Go check them out, of course. Use the 440 name when you go in there to buy some booze, if you do go in, and you'll get 10% off. So basically tax-free booze if you go to Weiss and use the 440 name. Closest liquor store to Titan Stadium as well. So when we get closer to the season and you want to tailgate, make sure you check out Weiss Liquors, of course. So I'm not going to miss the opportunity to bring this rant to you by Weiss Liquors. So we have an announcement. That was our big announcement on the show today. We've got some more announcements coming for you guys. So don't stay tuned to turn all the notifications on, right? Do all that good stuff. Tell everybody what they can do with the notifications. I know there's one more topic. Just settle down.
Yeah. Turn on all the notifications and let you know whenever we go live. There's going to be all kinds of content coming down the pipeline that you're not going to want to miss. Big, exciting changes. Mm-hmm. The only way you get to know those changes first is if you turn on those notifications.
Yep. And a lot of stuff coming. Like I'm not just for this show, but for a lot of other shows across the 440 Sports Network. So a lot of cool stuff coming. Football and other F words as well. So make sure you got that turned on. Just turn on all the notifications. BuildKG.com is the website for Kingston Group, who's been a great sponsor for us for the entire network for the better part of almost 2 years now. Again, buildkg.com. Nobody trusts independent contractors. Use one company, one nose-to-tail firm for all your house problems, issues, and renovations. Custom builds, whatever. Yeah. Buildkg.com, the Kingston Group, locally owned, award-winning custom home and remodeling firm. I don't know why I can say that entire thing exactly perfectly, and I cannot say live at the Cass Collective Studio in the heart of Nashville on Music Row.
It's a mental block.
I did it all right there, I guess. Okay, wrapping up this episode. Microphone's still working, of course.
Yes.
You went to a wrestling match on Saturday night?
I went to not only a wrestling match, I went to many wrestling matches on Saturday night that culminated in something called a pay-per-view, or now they call it a premium live event, which give me a break on that.
A PLE?
Yeah, PLE. It's going to be pay-per-view for me for the rest of my life. But it's SummerSlam, and it was amazing. I mean, I saw all kinds of people. I saw Curtis, who's a follower on Twitter. I met up with him. I think I saw David Reed was there. You
were there with all the Sobros guys, right?
Yeah, I was there with the Sobros guys, and I saw Christopher Martel. I saw a couple of other friends. I mean, I saw all kinds of people that were
not surprised at any of those names so far.
Yeah, so. It was great. It was a great show. The stadium was packed. The crowd in person was hype and seemed really good. And it seemed like everybody enjoyed the show that watched at home as far as the reviews coming in for it. Of course, as Vince McMahon recently retired, Triple H did a lot of the creativity to wrap up some feuds and start up the shows. Yes.
Can I ask a question? What makes a great show?
I think the fans first off do, but I think the quality of the matches, it doesn't really matter who wins or who loses as much as what matters is the story that is told inside the ring. So
Like, do they have
excitement
good, so they have,
spots.
do they have good writers? Is what you're saying.
I think they do now, or at least the writers are going to be given more creativity at this point, because now it's not Vince McMahon running the show
I tried
as
man.
a monarchy, I guess, or a dictatorship.
Authoritarian.
Yeah. But
I love a good authoritarian.
it was great. Stoney and we commented. We did commentary for all the matches since we do not get to hear commentary inside the stadium. The worst part
was everybody around you okay with
oh
this?
yeah, they loved it. The worst part of the show was the fact that when the sun went down, there was one light on each side of the stadium for the people that were in the end zone seats that were blinding everybody in those seats, and there were chants started in the stadium, turn that light off, turn that light off. I think there was one that said, turn the fucking light off too. And, I tweeted about it. But that light stayed on the whole time. So we're having to do something like this to even be able to see what was going on in the ring or up on the Jumbotron.
Good.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a Nissan Stadium production issue or WWE production issue, but that if they come back for another pay-per-view inside that venue and it goes into the night, which they typically all do, they need to get that corrected.
So
other than that, I thought Nashville showed out. I thought Nashville did a great job. The seats, because they only allowed a certain number of tickets be available. WWE did. I read it today. So half the stadium was tarped off. They only used half the stadium, or I guess 3/4 of the stadium for the show itself. That had nothing to do with Nashville. It's just how they wanted to do it, probably based on previous ticket sales at other places. But Tennessee filled it all up. Nashville filled it all up. And the Titans players, they thoroughly enjoyed it. And there were numerous Titans players there.
Now, I was out there at practice for Ric Flair. And while I know how big his name is and what he means to the community, and certainly saw how much it meant to Vrabel and to the Titans and all that other stuff, like, I'm not going to pretend that I understand. I don't. I've tried to understand. I've tried to watch. I watched Hulk Hogan as a kid. I tried to get what it is that's bringing it out here. Sean says, great to meet you on Saturday.
I met all kinds of people.
It was great.
Sean was great.
You guys were amazing.
Sean bought me a lot of beer.
Now that's a good way to be friends. Stoney says, good writers and wrestlers executing in the ring. Now here's my issue with the whole thing, because I think I've tried to be critical of the act of wrestling in like a more sophisticated way than just like, oh, that mouth breathing redneck wrestling is stupid. I'm trying to do it a little bit more thoughtfully and be more nuanced and try to get into it and figure it out. And it's what I keep landing on is that if I wanted one aspect of wrestling, I can go get something better somewhere else. So if I want the fight, I'm going to go watch boxing or MMA. If I want the acting and the writing, I'm going to go watch Hamilton, which was at TPAC and would be way better writing and acting.
But why go to two separate resources when you can just have it in one place?
If I want the lingerie, I'm just going to go watch porn. Like, I don't understand.
Well, I watch porn for the nudity.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if I want some sexual appeal, I'll just go watch the naked people. I don't need to watch the people that are sort of naked.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like all of each of these pieces is well below what it could be. If I want the violence and the athleticism, I'm going to go watch football or, like something that is.
Let me say something. If you want to see athleticism, WWE's got athleticism.
I don't deny that. I don't deny that.
Yeah. I mean, you got to understand the cardio that goes into.
I don't deny that.
On a match
and I'm all for, like, I understand the background of how, like, the athletes don't get treated well and they have to be pumped full of steroids and they get on a plane and fly to the next event and they're not taken care of. There's no union. Like, I'm all for, like, sort of understanding the back end of how tough it is on the athlete itself. It just feels like there's
we'll end it on this.
A lot of stuff that could just be better elsewhere.
It's not better elsewhere because you're not getting the full package. It's when you combine all the good things of all those things that you're saying into one package.
Sounds like a bad double album. Is what it sounds like. Just cut out half the shit and make one good album.
This is like them crooked vultures. If I can put it into something, is you're taking the best piece of a couple different bands and putting them together into this. And right now is the time to jump back into wrestling because Vince McMahon is gone.
Okay. So for those that don't know, that's a phenomenal album. Dave Grohl is in there. John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin is the bass player. And so it's a super band, basically. Yeah. The problem is that when the super band comes together, in your example here, that I could argue that album is better than all the other band's albums.
Well, that's what I'm
This
saying.
is
This
not
is
better than Hamilton performative wise. It's not better than boxing
It
violence
can be
wise.
because it's a different kind of performance, but it
All right.
can be.
I feel like you're taking like half of all the good stuff and putting it all together.
Nah, not
You're making it like a
I
Walmart
would agree with you
entertainment.
before the new era is now starting. The revolution is here.
All right.
Triple H is a totally different being than Vince McMahon.
The revolution is here. You know what else? Weiss Liquors is here, baby. Weiss Liquors is here. Uber Eats. You can get booze delivered right to your house, right to your office, maybe delivered in the parking lot. I don't know. Build KG, of course, buildkg.com, the Kingston Group, Football and Other F Words, Broadway Sports Media, 440 Sports YouTube page, all the other great stuff. Follow Zach on Twitter at FWordsPod. You can follow me at Braden Gall as well. And look, you can even see down here now. Look at that. Thanks for hanging out with us and persevering through all of our adversity today. We're in training camp mode as well. For Zach, I'm Braden. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting. We love you guys. This has been a football show.